through the peaks and valleys. I just want to go through it with the 5, especially or the 7 we have here, including Mike and Tony, our coaches. I want to stick it through and see where it takes us. Even if we do bad this year, I would still want to go again, just because I know what we have is good and that we're all insane players.
Hi everyone, welcome to 1v1. I'm joined by Asuna from 100 Thieves. 100 Thieves is coming off a 2-0 victory over G2. So Asuna, how does it feel to finally get that first win of the VCT season?
Yeah, it feels good. So I said on my tweet, it's been like 11 months since our last win, which is one thing because of the franchise format, and also, we didn't win for 11 months. But yeah, feels good. Yeah, I haven't had this feeling in almost a year, so you gotta take it.
For sure. And how did you feel about your own performance? I mean, you had 20 kills on that second map, so it looked like you were feeling pretty good.
Yeah, I would say I was feeling really good going into map 2 because my team, they played insanely well, and obviously statistically I didn't play too well, but I followed the shot, listened to everything Kel said. Like one of these rounds, I was getting Brem ulted, Fade ulted. There's 4 there. I mean, we have the bomb site today, so we end up winning the round because of stuff like that. But I'm just like dead. But it is funny. But like even around like that where I just die, give me a lot of confidence because I'm like, well, what we're doing is just cooking them. Like Kel's calling a masterclass on Bind, and obviously he did the same on Split. But now on Split we played a lot more methodically. I wasn't sent into the wolves, and was able to shoot my gun.
Awesome. So I know that you mentioned that it had been 11 months since you guys won in VCT. I mean, how frustrating was that for you guys internally? Like, how were you guys kind of able to kind of keep the vibes up internally?
I mean, we know we play a lot of good teams. Obviously, the Red Bull, we played an off-season with Nature, so without Boostio, and we just went there, played, good grooves, feelings for everyone, and just enjoyed it. And then for the first 3 games that we played, we're Lev, Sen, Sen. So it's like, we know that like we're good. It's just unfortunate that we're playing teams that are good, and also one team that just ends up like winning an event. And also, I mean, there was a narrative going around that they were like, jet lagged or like they're not practicing. But it's like, I mean, they're still Masters winners. Like, it's not like everything's just gonna be gone in like 3 days. Like, you know what I mean? So we understood that we were playing, like I said, good teams, and we shouldn't get shaken up over it. And then once we play a team that is more like we're better than or our caliber, we will show that we're good and we'll get our confidence back. And we just have to work on like keeping our confidence up while we're in that period, because you have to wait a week before you can play your next game. So it's like in that week you just lost a Sen, and it's like, well, do we change things? Do we keep things? Or what do we do differently? Obviously, we want to make improvements, so we're not just going to go like, oh, Sen, we shouldn't change anything. But yeah, so just got to work on like understanding what we did good and building off of that and stuff like that. Sorry for the small rant.
No, go ahead. So with Sen, I mean, you guys played them twice. They're probably the best team in the world right now. What do you think? What do you think they do particularly well? And is there anything that maybe you guys have picked up from them from playing them so much?
Yeah, I think they do really well at like being together and spacing. So it's something that John Cutie brought over from M80. When you watch M80 games last year, you can see it in Sentinels this year. And I think it's like the ability to go into a bomb site, and when I peek someone, like I peek any Sentinel member, there will always be 3 of them on my screen. And that feeling of like you peeking, you see 3, the best you can do is 1. Like you're not gonna, I mean, unless you're like insane, you're not gonna get like spray quaza, triple mow down. You're probably just gonna get 1 at most, or just all 3 of them are just gonna beam you. So it's like you have to understand that they're really good at that, and you have to make sure you use utility to break their spacing or something like that. But yeah, it's hard because they're also really good at every other aspect of the game. But that is something like that we noticed, and we need to work on playing around that. Yeah.
So with all these losses, obviously there's a lot of criticism from like the fans online. How much of that do you actually pay attention to? How much do you let that affect you, or how do you kind of block that stuff out?
Yeah. For every hater, I feel like I have like a supporter. You know what I mean? It goes both ways. So just try to read the good comments mainly. If I am on Twitter or Reddit or whatever, or YouTube. Obviously, sometimes you're just like on YouTube and you get recommends that are short about you, and you're like, well, okay. Because I still consume Valorant content. It's not like I know Valorant. But generally, like, if you lost, like, I'll just move on. Don't read much. If I win, I'm going to read a lot more stuff, obviously, because I'm generally positive. But yeah, I think just knowing who to take advice from or listen to, really, in the end. like I'm not going to listen to a gold player who's watching me play because they don't know what's happening. They don't know what's going on with the team dynamic, what I'm being told, what we know. Like obviously it's different when you're watching it back, but there's a lot of factors, and just gotta know, listen to my coaches, listen to my teammates, people like that understand the game, and go from there.
So you mentioned team dynamic and your coaches. So I'm curious. You have a new IGL and a new coach this year.
Yes.
What do you think Boostio and Zikz have kind of brought to the team this year, and how does Boostio sort of compare to previous IGLs you've had at 100 Thieves? Because you've been with the team obviously for a long time.
Yeah, I would say Boostio is definitely one of the more loud and like I don't want to say feelings because most IGLs have like feelings like gut, like oh don't go here, go there. But I think he's like very much energetic, loud. He understands like what a duelist player wants because he played duelist before, so he's very good at like stuff like that, and he knows when to tempo change. And the dynamic between Tony and Kel is really good. They worked all last year together, and they were really close. Obviously, there are some assistant coaches that don't do much, but Tony did do a lot on that EG team, and that's why Kel, when he joined our team, he wanted Tony with him. And when they both work together, they're very good at communicating their thoughts. They understand each other. They know what they are as like. Well, it sounds weird, but as people, like when you're working with someone for the first time, you don't know how they are, but they know each other. Kel can say anything, they can say anything. It's like easy communication, and they can be as clear as they want, and it's very good and very healthy, I would say, on a team, especially a team that's trying to improve and grow. And they, when they came over, they tried to bring in their own ideas as well, while keeping the EG like recipe, I guess. You know what I mean? Like why EG was good. We need to work on these fundamental things that made EG good, but we don't have to follow like everything they do. We have different players. You can't go one for one on everyone. Obviously, you do see us with Cryo, Smokes, and Demon One play Smokes, but it's like totally different. I guess like why we got there, so to speak. But yeah, I think compared to my last IGLs, I mean every IGL has been different, really. I think everyone thinks of the game differently. Every player wants to play some way, and then you just have to learn how to find a nice balance, but also know why it's good. And I've had Steel, Nitro, Stellar, all of my IGLs, and they've all been really insane, and Echoes. And they've all brought in ideas that I've kept throughout the entire iteration of 100 Thieves. Obviously, some are faded out because of the meta, but I try to keep what I learned from them and keep passing it on because it's very important. You don't just learn from something from Steel and then just forget about it because there's no point. You're not going to grow as a person. You have to keep going. And so I think, yeah.
Right, makes sense. So, as I mentioned previously, you've been with 100 Thieves for a long time. I believe you're the longest tenured player of anybody, on VCT Americas. What do you think has been the key to kind of your longevity with this team?
Yeah, I think, well, it's pretty blunt, but like not leaving the org is one of the things. But the org has been really good at, I guess, keeping me here. A lot of the people we picked up, I've wanted to play with and work with, and so it helps out a lot. But then for me personally, I think just knowing how to work with people. If you're toxic or you have a very like, I don't know what personality it would be, like how to describe it. I'll just say egotistical personality. It's going to be very hard for you to stay on a team, and especially when you're losing, because the nature of you really comes out when you are losing versus when you're winning. When you're winning, you can be the nicest guy in the world. It's so easy because like there's no pressure. You're not losing. You're not facing any hardships. And then when you start losing, like the real you kind of comes out. Sounds a little cringe saying that, but you know what I mean. But because everyone here is like striving to win, and I think the reason I'm here is easy to work with. Well, I'm good at the game, but that goes without saying. And knowing how to show passion and like keep trying. It's not like I just sit there and just don't like I'm playing bad. I'm just gonna play bad. I always try to find a way to fix it. And
yeah. So there's obviously a lot of like peaks and valleys that come with playing with the team. Like, and you've been through various iterations of 100 Thieves. So like how long would you say it takes to really figure out whether the team, a particular roster, is going to work out?
Yeah, I think it's when you make a team, you figure out like by steps. I would say, like when you're with a team for the first week, you can tell if you mesh personality-wise. Something simple as that. Which sometimes you don't, sometimes you do. And then for other teams, you realize like everything meshes personality, in-game stuff like that, but something's just not there. You're missing like this one component, and it's like, well, do we make a move or not? Personally, as a player, I don't really like doing roster moves. I don't like. Well, I haven't left teams. I don't like leaving teams. I'm pretty like, you know what I mean. Like, I like to stay in my boat and see where it takes me. I'm not gonna go chasing for something when I think I can make it here. So I would say, yeah, I think through the peaks and valleys, I'm very much. I just want to go through it with the 5, especially the 5 or the 7 we have here, including Mike and Tony, our coaches. I want to stick it through and see where it takes us. Even if we do bad this year, I would still want to go again, just because I know what we have is good and that we're all insane players. So, yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think that's a really, really good take. So kind of looking forward a little bit, you guys picked up your first win. You guys got Cloud9 next. So kind of what are your thoughts on them and kind of the rest of the schedule?
Yeah, so our schedule is mainly American teams, which is good for us and bad because obviously, well, that's not obvious actually. There are other good teams, but we think North American teams are pretty good. I think video game, and so we're playing. We've played Sentinels. We just played G2. We play C9, and we play Energy. Yeah. So we play 4 of them out of the 5. We don't play EG, and we play C9 next. They made a roster move similar to G2, so no idea how that's going to go. We haven't scrimmed them at all, really, with the new addition of Rooney. Actually, we did a little bit when they were trialing him. So we have a little bit of knowledge, but Vanity is calling, Rooney isn't, so it's different from last year. But we understand how they play, and they added in Moose, so yeah, we'll see how things go. But our schedule is looking pretty good, and hopefully we can get the next 3 wins.
For sure. One last question. I think a lot of people know you're a big anime fan. So what are you watching these days?
I haven't started the new seasonals, so I haven't really been keeping track. But last season I watched Freerun, Solo Leveling. I watched I forgot the anime, what it's like exactly called, but it's like Muscle Man. Basically, he's a whatever. It's like Harry Potter, but he doesn't know magic, but he can one punch everything. Basically, it's like One Punch Man but wizardry. There's season 2 of it coming out. I was waiting for it all to come out and watch it. Has a good opening too, if you want to listen to it. But yeah, I've been watching more not anime shows recently, like Game of Thrones and stuff like that. So it's been good. But yeah, it's been
cool. Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon too.
No, I got up to season 6 and then just stopped really honestly recently. But then I was watching Dune 1. Sorry, that was the most recent thing I watched because I need to watch Dune 2 when my girlfriend comes over. Yeah. So in theaters, she made sure we had to watch it IMAX in theaters. So we're gonna do that soon. Yeah,
definitely. I recommend it too.
Did you watch it?
I did. Yeah,
it was really good. Dune 1 was really good, especially the ending. It ended at a really good cliffhanger. My girlfriend wants. Well, she is reading the book. I don't know how far she got into it so far, but she was telling me she was going to read it because she really adores it. Yeah. For some reason, she watched Dune 2 and then Dune 1. But Dune 2 is so good, and she recommended it to everyone. Yeah. But yeah, recommend it highly. No anime, sorry. Dune 1, Dune 2, recommending that. But yeah.
All right. Well, that's all the questions I have for you. Anything else you'd like to add?
No, but thank you for the great questions, and I appreciate it, and hope the YouTube video goes good.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much for joining me, and good luck the rest of the season.
You too. Thank you so much. Good luck in the rest of the season.
Thank you.